Forget the museum greatest hits, because the most influential paintings in history are ones you've never seen. These 10 images created the modern world by teaching us how to see loneliness, progress, and even our own faces for the first time. Let's begin. Before this, a human image usually meant a symbol: king, god, saint, archetype. The Fayum portraits do something more intimate and radical. Painted on wooden panels and bound directly to the faces of Roman Egyptian mummies, they essentially invented the concept of the ID photo. One person, one frontal stare. These are the only large body of ancient panel paintings to survive, yet they feel shockingly modern. When archaeologist Flinders Petrie first excavated them in 1887, he didn't feel like he was looking at a relic. He wrote, "It is as though I look on one who is alive." That is the shift. This is the first time in history that the idea becomes obvious. A human being is a particular face, not an ideal type, but a specific individual, preserved as if their identity could outlast their body. And yes, that still controls you. You believe in faces like you believe in fingerprints. Faces are how you decide who's real, who matters, who is allowed in, who is unsafe. Modern life is basically built on the Fayum invention. Passports, profile pictures, representation, facial recognition, the whole unspoken belief that visibility equals personhood. It's not the loudest revolution on this list, but it might be the most silently powerful. Here's a shockingly modern thought for the 14th century. Your government creates your reality. Ambrogio Lorenzetti didn't paint these frescoes in a church to warn sinners. He painted them in the Siena town hall, right inside the chamber where the Council of Nine sat. Unlike almost all medieval art, the subject here isn't God, it's us. It was an explicit tool for the men in that room. Lorenzetti surrounded them with a stark choice, and he used every visual trick in the book to make it fell. On one wall, you have Good Government. It's bathed in warm, earthy colors, brick reds and golds. The composition is horizontal and balanced. You see the first true panoramic urban landscape painted since antiquity, featuring clustered towers and markets receding realistically into space. It looks like a real city because it's meant to argue for real life. But turn your head and you face bad government. Here the perspective shatters. The composition becomes jagged, the colors turn dark, and the geometry itself feels oppressive. It was designed to stare down those rulers while they worked, reminding them that their decisions had immediate material stakes. It is politics shown as cause and effect, not fate and mystery. This is the first major visual argument that society is designed. And you absolutely still think this way. You don't see poverty as a curse from the gods. You see it as incentives, neglect, systems, and policy. Think of Lorenzetti as the ancestor of the modern policy infographic. Every chart you see today linking education spending to crime rates is channeling his logic. He literally painted the data points. In the city, dancers aren't just decoration, they symbolize peaceful social order. In the countryside, a winged figure of security hovers over the farmlands, holding a scroll that promises safety to all who live under the law. Lorenzetti merges form and content. An orderly composition is a just government. He didn't just depict a city, he invented a mental habit. He told us that if we change the rules, we change the world. Masaccio doesn't paint a scene. He builds a space you can step into. Look at his Holy Trinity fresco. It isn't just a painting on a wall, it's a hole punched through it. He creates a fictive, coffered arch that recedes with such terrifying precision that it looks like a deep chapel extending backward. The breakthrough is linear perspective, geometry forcing the world to behave. But Masaccio does something radical with it. He places the vanishing point at the foot of the cross, exactly at your eye level. By doing this, he locks you, the viewer, into the composition. You aren't just looking at the divine pyramid of figures from a distance, you are mathematically positioned at the base of it. And right there, at your eye level, isn't a saint or an angel. It's a skeleton. A tattered tomb projects forward into your space with the inscription, "What you are, I once was. What I am, you will be." It's a raw, jagged memento mori. This is the genius of the shift. Masaccio uses the cool rationality of the grid to blend the divine with the brutally real. He takes the mystery of salvation and places it in a believable, measurable depth. This is the moment real becomes mathematical. That changes everything. Because once you accept that reality, even divine reality, can be constructed by rules, you start believing reality can be mapped and engineered. This is the ancestor of architectural drafting, camera logic, cinema blocking, 3D design, and VR. It's the reason you trust a photograph more than a medieval icon. It's why you instinctively believe a single viewpoint feels objective. Masaccio didn't just change art. He trained Western eyes to crave a specific kind of truth. The truth that looks like a grid. Before Patinir, landscape was stage dressing. A hill behind the saints, a nice river behind the myth. Patinir flips the hierarchy. The land becomes the subject. Humans shrink into tiny side characters. Take the story of Lot and his wife. In any other era, a woman turning into a pillar of salt would be the headline. In Patinir's hands, it's a footnote. The burning city is tucked away in the corner. The human drama is swallowed by the scenery. To achieve this, Patinir invented a visual code, the world landscape. He deliberately pushes the horizon line impossibly high, forcing you to look down rather than across. He organizes this vastness using 3 distinct color zones: earth tones and browns in the foreground to ground you, verdant greens in the middle distance to pull you in, pale, hazy blues in the far distance to suggest infinity. This sounds like a style change, but it isn't. It's a philosophical change. By using that gradient and that high vantage point, Patinir invents a way of thinking that feels completely normal to you now. Zoom out. See the system, not the episode. He isn't just painting a view, he is simulating a divine viewpoint. He makes you look at the world the way God might, where the burning of a city is just a small detail in the grandeur of creation. This is the beginning of the mindset that makes maps mesmerizing and satellite images emotional. We pretend global thinking is a modern invention, but Patinir is the early blueprint, the planet as protagonist. This is not just a self-portrait. It's the first major self-portrait that says something brutally modern. The tool changes the self. Parmigianino didn't just paint a picture of a mirror, he fabricated one. He famously painted this on a specially prepared curved wooden block to physically mimic the bulge of a convex mirror. Look at the result. He paints his reflection exactly as the glass distorts it. The background warps into a spiral, the ceiling bends, and his outstretched right hand, the hand of the creator, looms enormous in the foreground, distorted by the curve. This is a psychological revolution disguised as a virtuoso display. In the Renaissance, artists like Masaccio were obsessed with stable geometry, showing the world as it objectively is. Parmigianino broke that rule. He introduced a mannerist move. He showed the world as it feels when seen through a specific lens. He even painted a fake gilded frame inside the picture, blurring the line between the real object and the illusion. The implication is massive. There is no true me independent of the lens. Identity is a rendering, a performance shaped by angle, medium, and technology. That's not Renaissance thinking. That's you thinking. Every time you adjust your camera, choose a profile photo, or feel weirdly disconnected from your own image online. Parmigianino didn't just predict selfies as a trend. He predicted the deeper truth beneath them. Modern identity is optical, unstable, and entirely dependent on who is holding the frame. Holbein paints two powerful men, draped in hyper-real velvet and fur, standing on a cosmic tile floor. Between them sits a rack of instruments rendered in exquisite detail. Globes, sundials, mathematical tools. It's not just clutter, it's a hierarchy. The top shelf holds celestial tools, representing the heavens and perfect order. The bottom shelf holds terrestrial objects, representing the earth and human affairs. It's a portrait of an expanding world, science, exploration, and total control. But look closer at that bottom shelf. There's a lute, and if you squint, you'll see one string is snapped. A hidden note of discord. It's a subtle whisper that the peace of this era and the status of these men is fragile. Then, Holbein drops an impossible shape across the bottom. A warped skull you can only resolve from the side. That skull isn't a mere illusion, it's the thesis. This is the first painting that feels like modern life, psychologically. You have the celestial data and material status up top. You have the snapped strings and mortality underneath. Progress and dread in the same frame. And here's the part that still runs your brain. The skull only makes sense from a different viewpoint. Meaning depends on position. Perspective changes truth. That's the modern condition, especially now, when your reality shifts based on where you stand, socially, politically, economically, algorithmically. Holbein didn't just paint an era. He painted a permanent contradiction. We build the future while knowing it ends. Courbet commits a social crime. He paints an ordinary village funeral on the scale once reserved for gods and emperors. No myth, no hero, just people. Dirt, death, real faces. Look at the composition. It is a relentless horizontal line. There is no pyramid structure, no central hero, no chief mourner. Courbet forces the priest, the mayor, and the gravedigger to stand on the same visual plane, rendered with a photographic evenness that refuses to flatter. He rejects the bright colors of fantasy for the muddy browns of the earth and the flat blacks of mourning. The scale is the ideology, but the flatness is the message. By denying us a protagonist, he forces equality onto the canvas. He is saying, ordinary life is worthy of history. The everyday is monumental. The unnamed are central. This is not just a technique shift. It's democratic reality gaining a visual language. This is the ancestor of documentary culture, of journalism as moral authority, of the belief that the real world is the highest subject. It's why a film about working-class families can win awards, why social realism hits harder than fantasy, why your brain believes there are no small lives. Courbet didn't just change painting, he changed the human ranking system. Turner paints the first great truth of industrial modernity. Speed isn't just movement, it's a feeling. The train comes at you through rain and smoke, slashing the composition diagonally. Forms dissolve. The world blurs. Nature and machinery collide in one vibrating sensation. Turner piles the paint thick at the engine's core, an impasto of gold and fire, to make it solid, almost demonic, while the rest of the landscape swirls into a vortex. This loose, hazy brushwork was radical. He wasn't capturing the detail of a train, he was capturing the perception of it. In doing so, he effectively opened the door to Impressionism decades before it had a name. But the real genius is a detail most people miss. Look at the tracks. Racing ahead of the locomotive is a tiny hare. It's a desperate dash, nature trying to outrun the machine. It turns the painting from a landscape into a confrontation. The old world of the stone bridge and the rabbit is being overtaken by this new, coal-burning beast. This is why the painting is an embodied experience. Not a celebration, but a nervous system event. Rush, thrill, unease, inevitability. And that's why it still hits. You live in Turner's world every day. Commuting, scrolling, notification pressure, everything accelerating faster than meaning can catch up. We are all that hare, trying to outrun the machine. Even when you relax, you're often just consuming speed in a different format. Turner didn't just paint a train. He painted the modern tempo, and you haven't escaped it since. A city street full of people, and nobody connects. Everyone is sealed inside their own bubble, shielded by umbrellas, angled away by geometry. The scene is set under a flat, gray light. The colors muted, blacks, greens, and grays, only enlivened by the reflection of the wet pavement. This is the first iconic image of loneliness as structure. Notice how the Haussmannian buildings recede sharply on either side. Caillebotte uses a deep two-point perspective, where the sidewalk lines and buildings converge into the distance. But this isn't just a technical trick, it's a psychological one. The math of the painting physically isolates the figures. Look closely at the man on the far right. He is cut off mid-frame, as if the canvas itself simply ran out of room. This is the influence of modern optics, the logic of the camera. It feels like a fleeting, stolen moment rather than a staged group. It's not, "I'm lonely because I'm broken." It's lonely because the modern world is designed that way. Scale, anonymity, pace, crowd logic. You become a moving unit in a system, not a member of a tribe. And yes, this still controls you. It's urban life. It's internet life. It's being watched by an elevated camera, but not truly known. This painting is basically the original screenshot of modern alienation. Caillebotte's genius is that nothing dramatic happens, and that's exactly the point. Eakins paints a surgical theater like it's an altar. And standing at the center is Dr. Samuel Gross, the high priest of a new religion, expertise. Notice the lighting. A hanging gas lamp casts a stark theatrical spotlight on Gross's head, the seat of intellect, and the patient's body, while the eager students fade into the dim background. Gross stands like a hero in a black coat, calm amidst the chaos, confidently wielding a scalpel. This is the first great painting of modern authority in its rawest form. Eakins didn't sanitize the scene to make it palatable. He painted the sheen of fresh blood on tissue and the bloody glint of the doctor's glove. To emphasize this cold, scientific rationality, Eakins gives us a brutal counterweight, a woman in the shadows, likely the patient's mother, shielding her eyes in horror. She represents the old world of emotion and fear. Gross represents the new world, unbothered, efficient, and precise. It's not beautiful, it's compelling in the way reality is compelling. And that's why it still owns us. Modern people trust medicine more than myth. We submit to experts. We fear procedures. We worship progress while feeling uneasy about what it costs. This painting captures the modern bargain. We trade comfort for control, and then live with the anxiety that control is never complete. The reason these paintings feel so powerful in hindsight is that they didn't announce themselves as revolutions. They just made new ideas feel normal. You aren't looking at paint on a wall. You're looking at the origin story of how we see the world today. The canvas didn't just capture reality. It trained reality.